Howdy, this should be one of the first videos I do on making puppets, or at least how I do it, because making puppets has very limited information online, unfortunately. And I don't know why, because like every other art form has something, right? Has a decent amount. Even like custom action figures has a lot, which is, I don't know, it's peculiar. So when making a hand and head style puppet, when making an original character, it's always important to think about what that character like purpose is. Like what do you, when you think of this new character, maybe you're making a series or you're doing a movie or something like that, what purpose does this character serve in that? It could even be for a commercial. The point is, when you create a character, like what's the first thing that you think of, and then you have to make that character work for that purpose. So which sounds crazy coming from me, because I very rarely make original characters. I don't know why. I love doing it. I do. But there's so many times where I see a character that's already been created and I'm like, wow, I love the way they're designed. Let me make that in puppetry, which sounds absurd. But yeah, think about that. Personally, when I make a character, I usually start with the face and then work down. This is how I think, because generally speaking, the body tends to be the least unique part of a human, right? I mean, every person's body is different, obviously, but it's not the part that people always focus on per se. They usually focus on how unique the face is. I mean, the outfit is a very unique part that tells a lot of characters. So you definitely want to focus on that, but the body underneath generally is just like whatever, right? And well, whatever that was just fell. That's unfortunate. For someone who has a big table, I tend to use all of its space, so there's not really much free table space. I'm making a custom figure over here, and I'm also animating. So when I'm done animating, I suppose, then my table will be free, which means I just gotta work on animating then. That's gonna take forever. Anyways, so a very important thing that I have for me when I build a puppet is I like to get the general scale of it down. So I made this very simple puppet stand. So it's just two broken shirt hangers, and they're stuck together with foam in this box. And the reason why it has all this stuff on it is because I needed to present it at an art show or whatever. So the cover is not important. As long as the basic thing is there. Let me get an example. This guy. Boom. This is a puppet of Koichi Hirose from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure that I made because I really like the character and I love the show. So and books. So what you do, so it's the reason why these like this big weird part is important for at least me is because it's not as big as your hand and it doesn't have the same shape as your hand when it's in there, but it's a good point to like have that keeps the head disconnected from the neck. So you just put it boom right on there, and it can sit. I mean, bigger puppets are gonna have less space, and will become off looking more frumpy and like just set on. But like generally speaking, it looks pretty okay on it, right? So you don't need to have this. I've been building puppets for I guess 6 years now, and I didn't have this until barely even this year. But it's definitely something you should think about when you're starting off, is like how I want to help myself. Like a lot of puppet building is learning ways to help yourself to make things go faster or easier or whatever, or like less costly. Something that I started doing this year or so is I made a few arm rods, like 2 pairs of normal ones, and then like 3 or 4 pairs of weird ones, so I can get the characters' hands in like weird scenarios, like they're playing a piano, or they're like doing something else, right? That's so I made little arm rod holders in each hand, so that the arm rod can go and get right in there and it stays. You know what? I'm just gonna show that off right now with the same puppet. When I'm working on a puppet, I always have 2 normal arm rods on me, just for practice purposes. You always gotta practice. I made the arm rod holes go, like, let's say the hand is like this. I made the arm rod to go like that, and I was like, that works. That was great. Then I realized that I'm not really controlling it the way I want it to. So instead, I made the arm rod hole go this way on the hand. So you gotta keep in mind what you're really when you're like building a puppet, how it's gonna be performed. That's like the biggest piece of it. So now I have the arm rod successfully in the hand. He seems kind of mopey. It kind of works for his character. He's not really courageous. He's more of a shy, not really outgoing. This is something you gotta keep in mind. That's why I'm talking about character design. When you're making a puppet character, you gotta recognize what it's gonna look like when your hand's inside of it. His hair's all goofy. There we go. So arm rods are very, very integral to this kind of puppet and how they're gonna move and use the world that they live in. And having arm rods that are detachable are really helpful, because then you're not wasting arm rods and you just have more. You'll never lose arm rods, which is something that I'm glad I started doing, because I used to just like buy wooden like dowels, I guess they're called, and just like use all of them in like 4 puppets, because they only came in like 8s apparently. I don't know why I'm doing math equations. Anyways, with this puppet series, I'm gonna build generally a pretty basic puppet. It's a puppet of Ben Folds, the musician. And when you're making a puppet based on a real person, I tend to draw out the person as the best of my ability, whether that be in my style or how they act, how like my best representation of how I can get them to look. And then I look at them and see what kind of features are exaggeratable. And then I take those exaggerated features, I design a puppet with all those in mind, and then that's how I like build the puppet. So when making a pattern for the puppet's foam skull, I'm trying to figure out like what angle to put this at, because this is new to me. When designing the puppet's foam skull, you gotta think really hard to find like what the shape should be. I know some people make a little sculpt of it in clay and then cover it with tape, and then remove the tape and then cut at the round parts, so you get like a semi-accurate pattern, and then they like expand the pattern to be bigger and then make some changes or whatever. That works. That definitely works. I'm not the best at clay sculpting though, so I generally don't do that. Instead, I go with what my brain thinks works, and it tends to work actually. So definitely practice that. You gotta practice that to become good at it, because 6 years I've been practicing and not all my puppets look great, and I just have to live with that and move on, and I work on them and I get better. It's an art. It's literally an art. So I made the pattern with paper. It looks small. I like to keep puppets smaller than bigger, because I don't like wasting materials. And also, you don't need to make puppets huge. I think a lot of people make puppets too big sometimes. Personally, when I see them, I'm like, ugh, that looks great, but it's also like 10 feet tall. And it's like, how are you gonna perform that? So yeah. What else? What else should you keep in mind? Keep in mind that someone else might perform this. So when you're making a puppet, don't make it like I mean, sometimes you can make a puppet perfect for your hand because you know that you yourself are only going to be the one performing it. But keep in mind that other people, like if you're working on a production or a show or a movie or whatever, there's going to be multiple hands of that guy. So you got to make it work. This is a segment where like I guess I'm going to be hot gluing this guy because not really much to talk about until I do that. So yeah, I'll see you when I do that. So this is the fun part about making puppet heads with patterns like this, is you get to the part where they all come together and it looks round. It's also the worst part. Boom, the head is almost complete. And it fits snugly on my hand. I just put my whole fist in it, crack my knuckles, which is something that you probably wouldn't do normally, but first thing that came into my head. I gave him a very weak chin, because Ben Folds has a very weak chin. I'm not certain how much more progress I'm gonna get done with this guy today. I have like 50 other puppets that I literally need to finish. That are just like on the brink of being done. And I also have like practicing of instruments that I need to do, and then there's the animation, which I actually think I'm gonna finish today. Like not finish today, but get a lot of work done today. Because I want this table free. So yeah.